Coming up, we get a progress report on sea turtles right here on the Sun Coast. The official nesting season is wrapping up and we find out what effects the world pandemic may have had on these creatures. And can you hear this? A symphony of sorts. We get a chance to hear what's going on under the water. Plus, we're at it again with Will Thomas. This time, we're strapping on backpacks for a game of Follow the Leader. This and much more coming up straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Sea turtle nesting season runs May 1st through October 31st. And with the 2020 numbers about to be wrapped up, we wanted to see how these ancient mariners may have been affected by restrictions from the global pandemic. So we spoke with researchers at Mote Marine Laboratories and Aquarium about what they're finding.
Mote's Sea Turtle Research and Conservation Program monitors about 35 miles of beaches in the Sarasota area. And this nesting season, we had a pretty typical year where we actually were able to document over 3,700 nests on our beaches. And that actually places us in the top 5 number of nests in our history. And all of those top 5 years have occurred like in the last 10 years. So it's pretty exciting to just kind of continue to see the growth in sea turtle nesting numbers and kind of know that our documentation and our protection of sea turtles is working. At the very beginning of this nesting season was kind of when COVID was really starting to ramp up. We did see a lot of beach closures, so our team had to work with local government agencies to make sure we still had access to the beach. But in terms of the actual effect on sea turtles, sea turtles nest at night, so already there shouldn't be people on the beach. And it was kind of at the beginning of the season, so it's really hard to say if there was any effect from beaches being closed. It was kind of a short amount of time. But we know that we just, as long as we leave the beach natural at night, sea turtles can do what they gotta do. Sea turtle hatchlings, once they leave, they do kind of what's called a swim frenzy, and they try to get out to the sargassum line. And then females are the only turtles that are going to return to the beach when they come back to nest. They're going to return to basically the same area, the same region where they hatched from, which is pretty amazing that they're able to do that. And then males, they kind of hang out in the water, and we do our best to try to do some research projects where we're tracking males, because we still don't know as much about their behavior as we do about females. So sea turtle nesting season on this coast of Florida is technically from May 1 through October 31st. The past few years we have seen turtle nests coming before May 1. So we think that maybe this nesting season is shifting a little bit, but it's almost the end of October and we're still seeing hatchlings happening almost every night. So we're still definitely in the hatching part of the nesting season. It's really exciting. We have our team of sea turtle biologists. We also have about 300 volunteers that help us with the nesting program. So everyone has a lot of passion and a lot of ownership over helping our sea turtles. So continuing to have great sea turtle nesting numbers it really does feel good, like we are helping sea turtles. And I think all of our staff and volunteers get really excited about that. Sea turtles have been around for millions of years, so we want them to continue to be around for a long time. And sea turtles do play an important role in the ocean environment. They eat jellyfish, they eat seagrass, they eat all number of different things depending on the species. So having them in that environment is very important for the health of our oceans. We continue to see really good nesting numbers, just especially in the last 5 to 10 years. So we just really think that that's kind of an indication of our program starting 30 plus years ago. Sea turtles take a long time to mature, so what we were doing then is helping sea turtles now, and what we're doing now is helping sea turtles in the future. In 2020, we have unfortunately seen a pretty big spike in boat strikes on adult turtles and juvenile and subadults. So we are thinking that, boating during COVID is a great thing that people can go do. to be socially distant, and we're seeing a lot of boats out on the water. So we just ask that everyone continues to practice safe boating techniques, slow wake zones, looking out for wildlife, because we've actually had higher boat strikes this year already than we did all of last year. So we are seeing quite a bit of boat strikes on turtles.
Mote says when you're boating, carefully abide by slow wake zones. Have someone be the lookout for the manatees, sea turtles, and the dolphins. Wear polarized glasses to help detect animals in the water. And lastly, if you see an animal that's hurt, don't try and help it yourself. Call Mote's 24-hour hotline. For more information, you can go to mote.org. When you go to the beach, you hear the seagulls calling, waves crashing, and kids playing. But there's so much more than that. There's an array of animals underwater making lots of noise. And we got a chance to hear what's going on under all that water without even getting wet.
This is our new fish sounds exhibit designed by myself, Mike Collins, and Samantha Bledson. Kind of showcasing some work by some Mote scientists looking at the sounds that fish make underwater.
Fish? They talk to each other?
It's crazy, right? If you go out into the ocean and put your head under the water, you'll find a whole symphony of fish and invertebrates making their noises out there.
So what exactly are they saying?
Well, for one, a lot of it is courtship. It's mate with me. A lot of them are trying to find a mate. It could be, I'd say that's almost all of it, but it could be territorial displays, making noise like get away from me also. Or it could be hunting also with snapping shrimp, which you'll see. They'll make a snapping noise as they're hitting their prey with sound. So they're actually hunting with sound.
Fish and invertebrates are quite resourceful with their sounds. And since they're underwater, sound travels much faster and they are much louder.
You think of birds chirping, fish are almost the same thing, except their sound travels much further and is really much more audible. We hear things with our ears, whereas a fish, the sound waves pass through them, so they can hear the sound really much better. They produce sound typically with some dedicated muscles or scratching on their swim bladders. There's a variety of ways that they make sound.
Mote Marine Aquarium has given us a way to feel like we're underwater with just the push of a button. From grunts to snaps to snorts, the sounds are all noises you may hear if you were swimming over a coral reef. There's even some human sounds.
We added a boat propeller because it's kind of a human sound that isn't natural on the reef at all, and it's pretty loud and disruptive, and it kind of drowns out the sounds of some of the other fish. So it's they probably realize it because they hear the noises a lot underwater, and it probably makes it a little more difficult for them to hear each other. So it's just another type of noise pollution that humans do cause out there.
Researchers are hoping to make us more aware of how we act on the water. Coming up next, we meet a family of scuba divers who shows us how going under can change your entire perception of the world around us. Stick around for a look at their trip to the Devil's Grotto.
These last few months have been challenging for everyone, especially me. I've walked many, many miles. I learned new tricks. I lost my afternoon nap time. I've stayed up many nights watching movie after movie after movie. I'm suffering from cabin fever. I'm in need of a renewed spirit.
Dante's Den is the perfect boarding solution for your dog, whether it's an overnight, short, or extended stay. Dante's offers the convenience, amenities, and overall luxury your pet is seeking. Spacious, air-conditioned dens have private patios, overlooking scenic pool and lakeside views, a sparkling pool with fountains to play in, surrounded by chaste loungers and a staff that will cater to their every wish. To make a boarding reservation for your pup, call us at 941-219-3730. Welcome back. Scuba diving. Some say the ability to move freely underwater is majestic, feeling weightlessness as you immerse yourself into the living world under the sea. In our brand new segment, Diving with Doc, we meet a family who shows us how this activity makes you want to preserve our oceans for generations to come.
Hey, I'm Doc. I'm a master scuba diver trainer with Patty. Scuba diving has been a very important part of our life as a family. My dad is in the Navy, my mom was in the Navy, so we've all been scuba divers. Recently, my dad has had to stop scuba diving, so the boys took up the mantle for my dad. So now they scuba dive with me. We travel around Florida and around the Caribbean on a regular basis to get our scuba dives in.
There's no other feeling like it. That's why I do it personally, is just the feeling. Every time you go under, it's hard to explain, but it's just so peaceful, calm, and it just makes you want to keep doing it.
I love it. Everything about it. Being underwater and feeling so calm and seeing all the fish come up right up to you.
We just dove Georgetown, Grand Caymans. We went down to dive Eden Rock, the Devil's Grotto. The reason we went there is phenomenal coral reefs with lots of marine life, and they have something that very few other places offer, giant swim-throughs for beginners.
That dive was probably my favorite one, just because like the different experiences you get with it, because it's just different lighting. So it goes to pitch black at one point, and then if you turn your flashlight on, you can see lionfish and hiding in the crevices, eels, crabs. It's really cool.
We saw a group of tarpon enter this big swim-through hole. So me and the boys decided, you know what, let's go take a look. And as you can see, it is just an awesome view. It's about 120 yards long. We have great natural light coming in from the surface through openings in the reef, and we're following slowly behind a school of tarpon. Keeping that nice slow pace so we don't disturb the fish. We're following them at a nice, safe distance. We don't want to panic the fish, just like, we don't want the fish to panic us. And as you can see, it's just an awesome, awesome swim through. There's lots of great fish, lots of tarpon. There's some silverfin, a school of silverfin up top. And we just had a blast doing this swim itself. There's a big old tarpon coming out. So on this dive here, we had just exited the swim through, and as we're swimming away going into they have almost like trails through their coral beds. Rico taps me and lets me know, hey, you gotta look over here. There's a big giant skate that had just fluttered down into the sand and covered himself. So we swam over slowly. From above, we take a look, and you can just make out the skate's eyes and his shape and his outline in the sand. It was pretty cool. The boys have just flourished. They started together as open water divers, and now all three are master scuba divers. We just have a passion for being underwater. It's very calm, relaxing, very enjoyable. The scenery is phenomenal. We're not being harassed day to day by cars, campers, people out in the public. So it's just us out there with the environment.
I love everything, every aspect of the ocean, and scuba diving is just another way to explore it.
I would love to make the world a better place, as in, keeping the reef safe. A lot of bleaching has been going on. Basically, it's just for the future generations, make the world a better place.
While we're out there, we actually have bags with us, similar to some of the ones that might be hanging around here, that we are picking up garbage, picking up trash, anything that we see to protect the environment. It's important because they want to be able to share this with their kids also.
The best part is just being down there with the people you love and the environment that you love.
We're swimming the path that I guess you could say God laid out. And it's just an awesome dive.
Both Zach and Rico recently made it into the Guinness World Book of Records. The master scuba divers took part in the largest underwater cleanup in 24 hours. They helped remove more than 1,200 pounds of trash at the Deerfield Beach International Fishing Pier. 633 divers cleaned out everything from boat ladders to barbells. Coming up, we're back with dog whisperer Will Thomas with another way to make walking our dogs just a little easier. Stay with us.
It's the calm confidence that dogs feed off of. Whenever we say, oh, he won't like this, he won't like that, you're already kind of prejudging it in the universe.
Over 90% of the seafood that is coming in to this country is raised in areas of the world that don't have the highest standards. And so our approaches are aimed for two things. One is to help feed the world. The second is to do it in an environmentally friendly and sustainable way.
These last few months have been challenging for everyone, especially me. I've walked many, many miles. I learned new tricks. I lost my afternoon nap time. I've stayed up many nights watching movie after movie after movie. I'm suffering from cabin fever. I'm in need of a renewed spirit.
Dante's Den is the perfect boarding solution for your dog, whether it's an overnight, short, or extended stay. Dante's offers the convenience, amenities, and overall luxury your pet is seeking. Spacious, air-conditioned dens have private patios, overlooking scenic pool and lakeside views, a sparkling pool with fountains to play in, surrounded by chase loungers and a staff that will cater to their every wish. To make a boarding reservation for your pup, call us at 941-219-3730. It's that time again. We put some of our dogs here at Dante's to the test. Dog whisperer Will Thomas is showing us another way to master the walk. This time using backpacks to help follow the leader.
In nature, anything on a dog's back is a threat. It's a mountain lion or cougar going to eat them. So what I want to do is put a backpack on the dog. This gives him a sense of, oh, what's that on my back? Brings some of his attention units back to his back. But as soon as he gets used to it, it brings instinctual attention units back there, which keeps him on track because he's busy, he's carrying our stuff. So I'm going to put the backpack on the dog. I don't let him sniff it first or anything, I just put it on. This is the first time Piper's ever had a backpack on. The backpack is like saddlebags. It also, we're going to put a couple bottles of water in there for weight, so the dog has a little weight. And these bottles can be cold or frozen from the refrigerator. Now we're going to give him a couple minutes to get used to it. We watch his tail, her tail. I got to move around a little bit now. And as soon as the tail starts popping up, then we know she's okay with it. Some dogs, they try to run out from under it. They'll reach back and try to bite it. But you can see, she's just like a perfect dog. And that's what a dog walk should look like. It should, the dog just a little bit behind you, and wherever you go, the dog goes. Now the fact that we're putting weight in the backpack also provides extra stimulation, physical stimulation. So a 20-minute walk with a weighted backpack is like a 40-minute walk for the dog. So you can do extra work with your dog without having to put in extra time. And just make a trip around the trees. Now see, just when the dog's getting ahead, she makes her circle. The dog gets his own little correction, like, oop, I gotta follow my mom. And on to the next tree. Isn't that cool? Can you see the difference in the dog in just like an hour? This is why my techniques work and why I only need to see people once. It's the calm confidence that dogs feed off of. Whenever we say, oh, he won't like this, he won't like that, you're already kind of prejudging it in their universe. If you just have a good, clean thought that this is good for you, then you think it's good for him. And we're not trying to weigh the dog down. We put some weight in there just for significance. If you live in a hot climate, you can put cold bottles of water in there. They could be frozen or cold from the fridge. Partway through your walk, dog gets a drink, you get a drink, and then back to your walk. And don't talk to him, don't try to make him feel better about this, just go for it. I just love it. You see, that's what a dog walk should be. The dog should be slightly behind you. In nature, game trails are single file. The coyotes and wolves are single file behind the deer, you know, and whoever's in front makes all the decisions. And look, see, now we're out in freedom, and the dog still has a propensity to stay behind her. And you see, he tried to bite me, did everything. But as soon as I just showed him it's okay, I didn't tell him it was okay, I showed him. And dogs that are fearful and phobic, this is really good too, because it gives them a real problem instead of these made up problems that are in his little head. Now he's all proud, look at him. No treats, no yelling, no hitting, no corrections, no words. We just do it, and they follow the line. They're mimics. Because we're throwing them for a mental loop. This isn't very physical, but they're getting a real mental workout today that they've never had before. And when they get this every day in their life, it's just like, oh wow, that's amazing. This is great. Look at that little guy.
For more information, you can log on to willthomasdogwhisperer.com. When we return, we talk to our vet about a few somewhat controversial vaccines.
I think something happened to my family. I'm scared and lonely. What's going to happen to me now?
Don't worry, Sonny. Our loving staff at Dante's Den will take care of all your pet needs for the rest of your life. A warm bed, toys, great food, walking, and swimming is all at your paw tips. And if you get sick, there is even a hospital and medical staff to help you get well. Dante's Den, continuing the love.
We have the influenza vaccine
And then we have the leptospirosis, which brings with it a lot of stories, a lot of rumors, and certainly something that we need to clear up. So why don't we start with the influenza and then move to the leptospirosis?
Influenza mutated to affect dogs. In fact, Chicago, where I was practicing, had a new mutation of the virus a few years ago. And when it first came out, it was highly fatal. It has attenuated itself, so it's not as bad a disease. But if they're in a group setting, particularly if they're being kenneled, if they're going to daycare, puppy classes, that type of thing, they're at much higher risk of being exposed to influenza. And I should point out that some of the vaccines, Bordetella is another upper respiratory infection, highly contagious, and so it's required if you're going to be boarding your dog somewhere. And it's as much for the protection of the facility as it is for the dogs, because if somebody comes in with it and the other guys aren't vaccinated, it will probably spread through the whole facility. But both Bordetella and influenza vaccines do not create antibodies to the level that will completely protect them from getting symptoms. So if they're exposed, they might still get it, but it's going to be very mild and a very short duration. But definitely if they're in group settings, they should be getting both the Bordetella and the influenza vaccine. The leptospirosis that you mentioned is an infection of the kidneys. It's absorbed right through the skin, and it's eliminated through the urine of a lot of wildlife species. And that is one that can also affect humans. And so if your dog is going to be out in the yard a lot, going to parks, that type of thing, I highly recommend that vaccine to protect them, which is also then protecting you against possible exposure to leptospirosis.
Well, you certainly have cleared up a lot, Dr. Greiner, regarding the vaccinations. And so to our audience, you must remember these are things that need to be done for the health of your dog. Go see your local vet for any additional information that you might need. Thank you, Dr. Greiner.
And always remember that risk evaluation.
We hope you had fun and you learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching. Really, this one is throwing me. No, put it where you want it and we'll figure out something. Okay. Take it.